Hey friends, welcome to today's video. My name is Stephanie if you're new here, and today we're going to be looking at the Holo Taco All Treats No Bag Bundle. So a big thank you to Holo Taco for sending this to me in PR. This is not sponsored or anything like that. I'm just really excited to share this bundle with you. So let's just get into it. So we're starting with the new topper and two cremes that were released. The first shade I'm swatching is Oh My Gourd, which is described as a bold, true orange cream. I found that it actually has a slight crelly kind of formula, but it was still really easy to work with. It gave me great coverage on the first coat, which is expected with the slightly wider brush, but I still found that I could see through to my nail line, and it was the tiniest bit streaky. I'm not sure if this is actually a problem with orange polish in general, because I have noticed the same type of formula across different brands, so it could just be that, but I did end up doing a second coat here to get fuller coverage, but it still was a little bit streaky, so I kind of just immediately went in with half of a third coat, if that makes sense. It wasn't a full third coat, I didn't do full application, so it's kind of like a 2 to 3 coater, depending on your application and nail length, but the color is gorgeous. The next polish is Resting Witch Face, which is described as a vivid, cool-toned purple creme. So the formula on this one was basically the same as the orange, where it was smooth to apply and very easy to work with, and it gave me great coverage, but I did still see through to my nail line after the first coat because it still had that slightly crellyish formula. This one did build up much better on the second coat though, I think because it is a slightly darker color, but going back to the easy to work with formula, I didn't mention it with the last polish, but both of these are very self-leveling, which is why I was able to go in with half of a third coat and not worry about it looking lumpy or anything. So yeah, this one looked great on 2 coats, and as of recording, both of these cremes are still available. The next polish is the Glow in the Dark Taco, which should explain itself. So I was kind of surprised to see how milky this was in the bottle, but it does say on the website it has a non-grainy application. So we're actually going to get into the glow in the dark later in the video. For now, I wanted to swatch it over my bare nail just so you can see how milky it is. It kind of looks like one of those smooth, ridge-filling base coats, and unfortunately it was a little bit streaky with the skinny brush. So the website photos only show this layered over white, so I was curious to see how it would layer over the cremes that were released. So here I am applying the glow-in-the-dark taco over the right half of Oh My Gourd, and you can definitely tell that it changes it up. Not that it changes the polish underneath, but since it is milky, it just looks kind of pastel. So the same thing does happen when you layer it over Resting Witch Face. So not to say that you can't layer the glow-in-the-dark taco over any polish besides white, but you won't really be able to get that hidden glow-in-the-dark effect if that's what you're going for. Now we're moving on to the Wicked Sister duo, and starting with Favorite Sister, which is a bright red frosted metal with scattered holographic micro glitters, and this was designed by Christine's sister Jen. So the frosted metal line is basically like this intense foil flaky that's super reflective and eye-catching. Since this one included a skinny brush, which I'm admittedly not used to anymore, I did have to dip back into the bottle a few times, but I found the coverage was nearly opaque on the first coat. I think because this one is so eye-catching, you could get away with 1 coat, especially with shorter nails, but I did end up doing 2 for full coverage. This one is absolutely stunning. I just love the way the light reflects off of this. It just glistens and twinkles, and I don't know if Jen was planning this far ahead, but I feel like this is going to be such a perfect holiday red. And last but certainly not least, we have Double Dare, which is Christine's birthday polish for this year. It consists of a black to red multi-chrome base with scattered hollow microflakes and reflective red glitters. Multi-chromes definitely look best in indirect light, so it might not look as exciting here in the sun, but it is still so sparkly and absolutely beautiful. I kind of had the same issue with my application using the skinny brush where I had to dip back into the bottle a couple times, but the polish was still really easy to work with and smooth to apply despite how packed it is with those micro flakies and glitters. Since it has a black multi-chrome base, it was nearly opaque on the first coat, but I did end up doing a second coat just to get full coverage. This does dry down a little bit gritty because of those reflective glitters, but I didn't find them hard to remove or anything. Again, it is hard to capture the multi-chrome effect and the reflective glitters in direct sun, so here's a little clip of it under my camera's flash so you can see that. Now for comparisons, I wanted to see how Oh My Gourd compares to Olive Pumpkin, which you can see they're not similar at all. But a more closer potential dupe I have is Morning Squeeze from Color Department, which you can see might look really similar in the bottle, but it's actually a touch lighter and even more sheer on the nail. Here's 2 coats of each. Next, for Resting Witch Face, my go-to cool tone purple is Left My Heart in Havana from China Glaze, which looks kind of similar in the bottle, but definitely not as bright. Another cool tone purple that I have is Easy from Olive Ave, but this one is even dustier, so I decided to not swatch it. So on the nail, you can see just how bright the Holo Taco is. Here is another 2 coats. And lastly, for Glow in the Dark Taco, I'm comparing it to Cirque's Phantom Glow, which came out recently. So as I mentioned before, Glow in the Dark Taco is really milky looking. It kind of looks like a crelly polish, while Cirque looks more like a jelly. The bottles both have an intense glow in the dark effect though. Here's what they look like after about 30 seconds under direct light and then going to pitch black. So from the bottle shot alone, they look like they could be dupes, but there are some key differences. So I decided to swatch these over my naked nail with Holo Taco on the left and Cirque on the right. This is just 1 coat and maybe barely noticeable in the sun, but you can definitely see the difference in the dark. It's important to note that Cirque's Phantom Glow actually does have that grainy effect where I mentioned Holo Taco said it is non-grainy. So it looks like these tiny speckles of glow in the dark, and the Cirque is noticeably weaker. But again, this is just 1 coat. So on 2 coats, you can see Holo Taco builds up to look kind of like a milky base coat as I mentioned before, and Cirque's polish is still totally clear. There's no milkiness to it at all, which I think does work in its favor. But again, in the dark, the Holo Taco looks more intense with a smoother finish. I still do have a bald spot, so I would have loved if this came with a wide brush, but yeah, that's the extent of this comparison. So that wraps up my swatches and some comparisons for the All Treats No Bag bundle from Holo Taco. So as always, I would love to know what your thoughts are on these new releases because I'm really a big fan. I mean, obviously I'm going to be partial towards the Wicked Sister duo just because they are so sparkly and eye-catching. So naturally they're my favorite, but the Halloween releases are really fun as well. And I do know that the majority of these polishes are sold out right now, but I believe all of them, with the exception of Double Dare, should be restocked at some point. So make sure you're signed up with Holo Taco's email notifications so that way you don't miss when they come back. But yeah, leave me any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it like always. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and I will see you in the next one. Bye.